So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy is the best way to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the best financial independence and passive income wealth advisors in the world, including CPAs, including commercial real estate operators, syndicators, financial advisors, where they share their deal stories, different ideas, and also inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Our next guest, he helps entrepreneurs and business owners who struggle with preparing for taxes, clarifying the profitability of their accounts. He's also an expert in QuickBooks and training, and he's also known as the Action Now CFO. He's a CPA by trade. And again, his real focus is helping his clients, customers, who are business owners gain financial clarity and rapid business growth. He's the founder of and host of Your Personal CFO Podcast and author of Mental Toughness 101, Gain the Edge Over Your Competition Now. Please welcome Greg Levine.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Greg. Thanks so much for being on the show. And quickly, you can find Greg at actionnowcfo.com. That's actionnowcfo.com. So, Greg, would you give our listeners a little bit about your background and your current focus?
Sure. So I've worked as an accountant for, 15 years or so. And I got to caution you, you did say I was a CPA. I'm not a CPA, but I have worked as an accountant in multiple accounting roles for quite a while, as I mentioned.
You know enough to be dangerous. Is that true?
There you go. So, again, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Excellent.
So I've, worked with many different clients, client types, a lot of real estate, and then I work with a bunch of other small and medium-sized companies just with their accounting work, and also as a fractional CFO. So I come in around once a month or so and help people strategize, look at their financials, really understand where they stand so that they can make good strategic decisions moving forward.
Absolutely. And so needed for the entrepreneur and business owner, who many, like myself, tend to go a million miles an hour in 100 different directions. And having someone who could look at your numbers and help you focus on where are the numbers going, and how are you strategizing, how are you preparing, how are you taking advantage of different tax incentives to really make sure that this train that continues to move forward in a productive way. Now with that, before your success is, essentially as an educator with your podcast, with what you do now at Action Now CFO, I'm curious, Greg, what gifts were you given? Think about back when you were a kid, what kind of gifts were you given, and how did that shape how you help others today? And those gifts could be your personality traits, or just the strengths that you had as a kid, or certain things that helped shape who you are. But what gifts were they, and how do they help how you shape others today?
Wow, that's a question, man. I never heard such a question before. I gotta think deeply. I mean, I hope that I was just raised with patience, because you need a lot of patience when you're kind of working with people with numbers, because that is something that doesn't always come easy with people. They don't always want to sit there and analyze their financials. They kind of want to just keep going and moving, and sometimes they kind of wonder what you're doing with their bank statements and sitting there in their accountants with QuickBooks or whatever it is, and they just kind of want to keep moving, find the next deal. But I try to be there and say, you know what? Why don't we look at the numbers, and then what you work on will be more strategically sound, and you'll make better decisions. And so sometimes that patience, which hopefully, maybe something that I was given, comes in handy.
The point of this is I think we're all given certain gifts, by God and by our families, and we're empowered with these gifts, and these gifts are used or should be used to help bless others, right? We're giving gifts to bless others. And so the gift of patience, you said, was kind of a theme. Was it something where your mom just said, yeah, Greg was just always a patient kid, or your parents just said he was always a patient kid? Was that always a theme of you growing up, or was it something where you had to really develop?
I don't know, maybe just something, it just came to my mind. I don't know, maybe just, I don't know. I think I was pretty laid back growing up. So I think that just kind of,
it's just who you are.
My makeup.
That's what I think. It's most of the time. That's the truth. And honestly, I think that's how I think you're absolutely right. I think the driving fast entrepreneur, patience is probably one of their least strengths. So to complement them with, especially the numbers and the details of having patience, I think that's a top quality that I would want in a personal CFO. Okay, so let's move on a little bit more here. So, what's the most rewarding part of what you do to help others?
What I love to do when I do my fractional part-time interim CFO work, however you want to call it, is really, having these good conversations with the business owner, and we really hash out some good ideas, and we look at their financials and their business in a way that they typically aren't really doing. And so having these conversations that bring out things that they typically wouldn't have seen otherwise and helps them to grow their businesses in ways they really hadn't been thinking about is really is just a great feeling, and really something that I'm proud of, and I really thoroughly enjoy the work.
Excellent. So kind of bringing those aha moments or those enlightening parts where you're showing in the numbers and the strategy, and you're connecting the two and helping them kind of turn the light bulb on for that part that they weren't seeing or weren't aware of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Great. I think that's awesome. Tell us this journey. You said you worked with CPAs. You were in that industry, in that world. Tell me about the shift when you said, you know what, I think this would be a good niche for me, given my skill set, given my knowledge, to help people in this way. Walk me through what got you started of Action Now CFO.
Yeah. So, not always, but when I decided to kind of go the accounting route, I wanted to do something in business, and I really wanted like a specific trade. So accounting sort of just kind of landed in the way that I really wanted to go with my career. And then I got interested in coaching, like business coaching. So I did a certification program in business coaching, and I really enjoyed it. And then from there, I was really trying to figure out a way to kind of combine my accounting and my coaching skills together into some sort of service. So my CFO work is really kind of a combination of my accounting and my coaching background. And so, really understanding the the numbers, and then helping people to facilitate those thoughts and those strategic actions is really the coaching comes in as well. So that sort of is where that's exactly where the company was founded upon.
That's great.
So then once I sort of really wanted to hone in on that focus, started to bring in clients, and that's how it worked. Yeah.
Excellent. So combining coaching with the numbers, with the consulting, all in one, and then you said, hey, I'm going to launch this, and here you are. Now walk me through, what's a typical client maybe look like? What's their annual revenues? What's their number of employees? What's sort of now's a good time to hire someone like yourself to help with that? Can you give me kind of a general a good fit for you, what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, a great fit is somewhere, $1 million in revenue per year, and to wherever. But where it typically comes in is that they typically already have an accountant on staff, but they can't afford somebody that is, let's say, a more, let's say, a CFO full time. So they have somebody that gets their financials in check all the time, and then they want someone with a little bit more higher level of accounting skills to come in, once a month to kind of help, or whatever it is, a few times a month, to help them really at a higher level to really take those numbers and make strategic change with them.
Excellent. And give me a couple of examples of those higher level thoughts or discussions that you're having that perhaps, the clients you're coming in, these are the top 1, 2, or 3 that where your value really surges forward.
Well, okay. So the big thing I like to do is I really like to get a P&L that is month by month. Okay. So we look at the month by month P&L, which is something that typically the business owner has not done on their own. And when you take that P&L month by month, you get to see, the trends and the different, why this month is that, why, this month produced this, why this month produced this, why there are changes. And we can really dive in and look at why the changes happen. And by analyzing, the reasons for this, that's really where, the magic happens, because you can, each change is a conversation, and then you can really take it from there, and you can set goals around making sure that whatever was a negative, we can change it into a positive, and figuring out how we can, do that in a sound and methodical method.
Excellent. So taking the month-to-month P&L versus maybe just an annual P&L and digging into the changes there and just deciphering, okay, what went well, what went wrong, how do we either correct and how do we improve, where that makes a whole lot of sense to me, right? Because it's more of a real-time and focus versus just a year at a time. So if I'm doing a good summary there.
Yeah, I mean, when you just take the P&L at the end of the year, I mean, it's not going to do that. I mean, it's going to do a little bit, but it's not going to do that much. So the more you do it, the more change and the more positive benefit you get out of it.
Excellent. So you're going to work with.
I mean, it's your business, I mean, to not know the numbers is really not very smart. So if you're just going to look at it once a year, I mean, fine. So you're looking at your bank balance throughout the year. What is that really going to give you? Sure, it shows you if you're making a little bit more money here and there, but wouldn't it be a lot nicer to know exactly why this is happening, so that you can even you can take it and make even bigger, profound changes?
Yeah, I've heard a saying: when the why gets clear and big enough, the how gets easy. And I think that's part of what you can do with those numbers as you dig in and really get the clarity on what's happening and why they're going the way they're going. Then it can spur motivation, inspiration to change the how to improve those even more. So, okay, great. So you look at the numbers as one. What other of the top things you would say? Okay, the second thing, month-to-month numbers is one. What would be the second type of thing where you'd say, yep, you probably need to work on X?
Well, one thing that I always like to bring up in our conversations is really how the operations are moving, because, a lot of times that brings out good conversation, because there are holes in some sort of flow in the business. And so although this isn't necessarily a financial matter, it develops into one. So something else that I always like, as I just mentioned, is something else I like to talk about, is really the organizational flow, and where there might be holes, and where we can kind of just improve all the processes in the company. And so that's really something that I like to bring up as often as possible. Once every call at least, or once a month every time. And I always find that really brings a lot of benefit, because there's always some sort of hole in some sort of process that can be improved.
Excellent. So you're going the overall operations. You're looking for any holes that you can plug or anything else you can make smoother, and just essentially, if you could do it right the first time, or fix an issue that's slowing things up, and make it maybe automated or make it consistent, then you don't have to worry about that again, and you can keep moving forward with the bigger picture. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Great. Now, maybe you can share us an example. Maybe just if you have any kind of people that you helped out, I think bringing it to life is good, where you could say you helped this type of company out that had this much revenue, and with your services, they were able to improve X, Y, and Z. Do you have any kind of case studies that you could share with us?
Well, I think one example that really stands out for me is I was working with this one company, and they were they had sent all their accounting work overseas, and the people that were doing the accounting work were, it was really an absolute disaster, to be honest with you. And I mean, that nothing was, it was so many, it was like, I can't remember how many months behind, and all the transactions were just, classified incorrectly. It was just a complete mess. And I remember coming in there, and I had to hire really a whole team to get this, cleaned up. And I just remember to get to the point where we were finally, steady again was really a satisfying example. I mean, really just getting to that point and seeing the difference in the owners once their financials were back in order and organized, and that they didn't have to feel so nervous with their client base. It was really a transformative experience to really be a part of that process, because it just not only transformed the business, but it just transformed the lives of the owners, because they had financials that were clear, and they could really function at in a positive and normal way, which had been lacking for quite a while, as they had these other people doing their books.
Yeah, it sounds like they got escape feeling nervous and also get peace of mind as soon as their numbers were cleaned up, clear, and again, having a predictable, whatever their taxes are going to be, whatever their income is going to be, expenses moving forward as much as possible. And that's so important. It's kind of like cleaning out your closet, right? Or cleaning out your car, or cleaning out your office. If you can organize and declutter and get a clear plan, that helps to free up your brain, your energy, the brain, the margin inside of your brain is the way I like to put it. Okay, excellent. Now, what does all this cost? So how do you determine your cost? If someone's interested and they say, yeah, Greg, I'm interested, is it customized based upon their needs, or do you guys have a set fee structure? How does someone pay for this?
Yeah, so typically it's $350 for a month of service. So you pay the $350. You get typically we'll do a once a month phone call, and then the client has the ability to get in touch with me throughout the month to help them. So it's not like it's just a one-off call. It's it's really throughout the month service. So they pay the $350, and that's the service. If it's a little more customized, then it's on an hourly rate, and then we can come up with the hourly rate depending on the kind of service that they want.
Excellent. So $350 a month in general, and that gets you at least one meeting per month plus access to you. And then, but if there's a little more customized, it might be a little different. Excellent. That's great. Now let's shift a little bit here to capital gains tax. Part of the focus of this show is helping people create and preserve more wealth by clarifying capital gains tax deferral options such as the 1031 exchange, deferred sales trust, Delaware statutory trust, and others. I'm curious, Greg, what, if any, are you helping people when it comes to either reducing taxes or deferring capital gains taxes? Any insights or strategies that you like to use?
Yeah, I mean, I just like to help them to really kind of just make sure that they're optimizing as many deductions as I know that they can use, that they're optimizing their deductions. That's my big thing. And that, their tax strategy is to, reduce as much as possible, then we're doing everything we can to make that happen. I mean, that's a lot of times the goal. However, sometimes that's not the goal. Sometimes they want to show, maybe they're in the process of selling their business or something, and they're at the time when they want to show that the business is being very profitable. So, it depends on, I guess, the strategy of the business, and we take it from there.
Excellent. So let's customize either to deductions or maximizing revenue and profitability for a sale and exit. So you're helping business owners too who are planning to do that. What are some of the top deductions or ways to, I guess, if you're preparing for a sale, let's focus on that side of things, because maybe a lot of the folks know about deductions. But if you're preparing for a sale, let's say in the next 1 to 3 years, what would you have? What would be the strategy to maximize the profitability on paper and also in reality, right? What would you suggest on that?
what I would suggest is making sure that they are doing their best to bring as much revenue as possible, getting out there, hustling, closing as many sales, and making those revenue numbers as high as possible. And then on the expense side, just being pretty tight with their tight with their tight with their money. So the expenses are low, revenues are high, and they're showing that their company is a profitable investment for someone to purchase.
So just maximizing the NOI, the net operating income, just maximizing the revenue minus the expenses, keeping your expenses low. It is going to give you a higher net operating income, which will increase the purchase price of the business. Right? Okay, pretty straightforward. What should every wealth advisor know? I consider you a wealth advisor, right? You're a wealth advisor, especially for the business owner. But what other wealth advisors, such as maybe a realtor or a financial advisor or commercial real estate broker, or syndicator, or business broker, what should they know about what you do? And the ones that do work with you, how do they best leverage your service to grow their business?
They best leverage they best leverage my service to help them by consistently letting me help them look at their financial statements and making sure that their financial statements are on point, because that is where it all lies. If they don't know their numbers, they're not going to make good decisions. If you don't know how to, it's very simple logic, but a lot of people just don't really want to follow it. And I really try to encourage everyone that I'm working with to stay consistent with this. Whether you have me or you don't have me with you, stay on this habit, because if you do this on a month, the more you do it, the better you'll be. So, I'm also a big fan of a good strategy with savings, so you're not always in a bind. I come across a lot of business owners that I work with that are not saving at the level that they should, and it's just a constant stress on them month in, month out. And I really try to encourage them all that they don't need to, live to the extreme. They need to live to a point where there's enough buffer that they are able to work and enjoy their work, and it's not that stress every moment to close the next deal or to however you're going to get your next income. So those are some of my advice, and I really try to encourage my clients to live by it.
Excellent. Yeah. So having retained earnings or savings built up, having some margin there, so you're not feeling like stressed, like you have to close a deal, or things are really tight. And then also practicing knowing your numbers on a month-to-month basis and seeing and understanding them, because from there the decisions, the good, wise decisions flow. And if you don't know your numbers, you're probably missing something and maybe making some foolish decisions. Is that a fair summary?
I think so. Well done.
Excellent. Yeah. So Greg, give a little bit personal now. We're curious, how do you stay centered on your values, and also how do you keep from becoming discouraged? You're an entrepreneur, you're working hard, lots of challenge, lots of competition, but I know a lot of business owners out there, and business professionals and entrepreneurs would want to know, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you keep from becoming discouraged?
Well, I think staying centered, I think you just kind of have to have some sort of, morning routine is something people talk about all over the place, but I think it really does have a big impact on a person's daily day and just life in general. So really try to have a sound, in the morning, get yourself, in a good state. And so you're ready to go, take on the day. I think that's important. Get your, your head focused on really, where everything should be focused. And, maybe some sort of journaling exercise. You kind of make sure that, your life is not all work. You got a whole bunch of other things going on. And then as far as not getting discouraged with business, I think you really need to, really know yourself and know exactly how you are going to be successful. And because sometimes you can get into a frame of mind, which I know I've had before, where your mind is not necessarily where your mind might be at goals that you're not really achieving, but you're sort of thinking that you're going to achieve. But in the present, it's not really getting you any results. So you need to. So I think I've saw this mentioned in various places, where you should have like daily whether it's income goals or some sort of daily goal. So you can, and really chart that goal so that you can really see what is actually producing real results. Because sometimes you can be, fiddling with the website that nobody sees or doing this marketing that, is not effective, when in reality, you could be spending that time really producing something that's going to move your business actually forward, opposed to, something that's just kind of maybe a dream that it might move forward. So really kind of knowing yourself and setting a daily goal that you are actually charting to make sure that it's actually happening. I think that's a really important thing.
I can't help but think of the correlation between knowing your numbers and knowing yourself, right? And what you're saying there. And it's as if you don't know yourself and the value and where the value is coming from to move your business forward, just like if you don't know the numbers and the story that they're telling, your business is probably going to either stagnate or you might be wasting your energy and your time in the wrong places. Is that a fair summary there, Greg?
I think so, yes.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show, and any last thoughts for the listeners here, and also remind everybody you can find Greg at actionnowcfo.com. He's also his podcast is also why don't you share your podcast and where they could find you?
Yeah, so the podcast is called Your Personal CFO. You can find that on the website, actionnowcfo.com. If you want a free, no-charge CFO session, just hit me up. My email is greg@actionnowcfo.com. And so, again, the website, actionnowcfo.com. Hit me up. And all I can say is, Brett, you're quite the host, man. Appreciate you having me on the show, and much success with everything you got going on, man.
Well, I appreciate it, Greg, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your story with us and some of your thoughts. And I want to also thank our listeners again for listening to another episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Hopefully, you learned a little bit from Greg here and the importance of, even before you get to that sale of your business or your property, that you're really looking at the numbers and you're understanding the story that they're telling, and on a month-to-month basis, so that you can create and preserve more wealth when you do go to sell. And as always, not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy is the best way to grow your wealth. Until next time, go make some great things happen with yourself and your business and your family. Thanks so much.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.